Just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. Can you just give me a thumbs up if my sound is coming through loud and clear? Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. So I'm so excited. Big thanks to Amanda and just the whole team. It's really exciting to be doing this webinar series for you guys. Part one, we talked a lot about AI and ChatGPT. Today, we're going to talk about social media. And then we've got one more part next month talking all about content. So it's really going to be fun. And, digital mastery, social media, AI content, there's no shortage of information to talk about, right? So my goal is really to give you tips and tools and ideas that you can implement immediately into your business. And the goal is not for you to take away everything that I'm going to talk about today, but if you can take away one or two or even a handful of things that you can say, you know what, I can do this right away, that's the name of the game. So it looks like this is being recorded, which is awesome. I have a lot of information on my slides. Feel free to take pictures, feel free to take notes. If you'd like a copy of my slides, I'm going to share a link at the end so you can download my slides. I know a lot of people like to print those out and look at those later. So stay to the end and we'll share that link for you as well. As Amanda mentioned, my name is Katie Lance. I'm the founder and CEO of Katie Lance Consulting and the Get Social Smart Academy. I'm author of the book Get Social Smart. If we're not yet connected on social media, feel free to take out your phone. You can scan that QR code. That'll take you over to my Instagram. We'd love if you give me a follow. And as we go through our time here together today, if you hear a nugget, if you hear an aha, feel free to take out your picture or take out your phone, take out your picture, take out your phone, take a picture or selfie. You can tag me and I'm going to hop on social media later and would love to meet you. I would love to hear your takeaways. You can see a few pictures on the screen here. I'm happily married. My husband, Paul, and I have been married 22 years. We've been in business together 11 years. We have 2 teenage boys who keep us very busy. And at the end of the day, our passion is really helping agents and brokers get smarter about social media. We really feel when it comes to social media, AI, technology, that it's not the end all and be all, but when done right, it can make a huge difference in your business. And ultimately, time is our most precious asset, right? I feel this deeply as a mom, as a wife, as a speaker, as a business owner. And so everything we talk about really has to do with how can we use these tools in a way that's going to save you time, right? And move the needle forward. So that's what I'm really passionate about. I'm going to drop in the chat here my, let's see if I can drop this chat here, my Instagram, just in case that link isn't working for whatever reason. Let me see if I can put this in the chat, type and talk at the same time. And as Amanda mentioned, all of you are muted right now, but if you have questions as we go through our time here together, feel free to just type in the chat. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Okay. So part one, our last class, like I said, was all about understanding the real estate landscape and AI. We talked a lot about ChatGPT, and that was recorded. It sounds like the whole series will be released together because it really is kind of a whole series. So that'll be released after our last session. Today, it's all about leveraging social media for real estate success. We're going to share some tips on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, which will be fun. And then our last class is about content creation and how to be more efficient with how we show up on camera. How do we show up with our content that we're creating? Because ultimately, the best type of content that you could post is content that comes from you, content in your voice with your personality. But we don't want to take, a ton of time to do that. So we're going to cover some strategies for how to be most effective in that part 3. So I want to first start by kind of sharing some interesting stats around social media and real estate. This was pulled from the NAR 2023 member profile. And I was doing a little bit of digging, just looking to see, the agents who were surveyed and what they're using social media for, how it's been effective in their business. So probably not surprising, but Facebook's still at the top of the list. 67% of realtors are using Facebook professionally, 74% are using it personally. And then it goes down to LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and the list goes on and on. And I find that really interesting. I think for a lot of people, we think of Facebook as maybe not as, I don't know, some people have said, oh, maybe it's not as relevant, or what about TikTok or whatever it might be. I'm a big believer that when it comes to figuring out where you should be on social media, I think you should be where your clients are. And if you're not sure where your clients are, now is a really actually a great opportunity to reach out to your clients. We've had a lot of folks that we've worked with inside of our academy who've sent emails this time of year to their database. And they've said something like, we're working on serving you better with our content that you see on social media. And we're just wondering, where are you spending time? Is it Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, like none of the above? And it's really interesting. I think sometimes we assume where people are, So I want to just say first and foremost, I don't think you have to be on all these platforms. I think you need to pick where you enjoy being and also where your clients are. Now, the other thing that I thought was really fascinating is they talked about just where business was coming from in terms of like where people are getting business from, where realtors are getting business from, and are realtors getting business from social media. So, I run a social media company, and I was a little disheartened to see that 48% of all realtors are not getting business from social media. Now, I don't know how many realtors were surveyed in this NAR survey, but it made me pause for a second. And on one hand, I wish that number was bigger, of course. But on the other hand, what I think is really exciting about this for any of you listening live or, maybe later on when you listen to the replay, is that to me, this means the opportunity is wide open. Right? The opportunity is wide open. I think for a lot of people, a lot of agents will come to me and say, I should have been doing this a while ago. It's too late. I'm too old. Like, there's a lot of excuses I hear people say, not necessarily excuses, but just feeling like, is it too late? So here's the good news. It's not too late. You're not too old, right? We are kind of still in the infancy of a lot of this. Even though Facebook has been around for quite some time, as well as other social media platforms, the opportunity is wide open. So that is an exciting thing. And one of my favorite quotes on the screen here is, "It always seems impossible until it's done," right? It always seems impossible until it's done, which I love. So a big part of what I want to talk about today is strategy, because without a strategy, you're just like throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. It's the, well, let's try this out strategy, which isn't really a strategy, right? And when I look at the agents and brokers we've had the pleasure of working with, when I look at the ones who are getting 50, 60, 70% of their business from social media, it's not that they're online all day long, but for the most part, they have an intention, they have a strategy, they have a system, right? For whatever reason, sometimes social media becomes this thing we bolt onto our business when we have time, right? It's like, well, I don't have a lot of listings right now, or I've got a little bit of time. Okay, I'll hop on Facebook, versus just integrating it into a strategy, just like any other part of your business, any other part of your lead generation, right? It should be just as important as phone calls or thank you notes or door knocking or whatever lead generation activities that you do. So I want to first talk about Facebook, right? So is Facebook still relevant? I absolutely believe Facebook's still relevant. As of July 2023, Facebook has over 3 billion active monthly users, and it's the most used network worldwide. 37.2% of all people on Earth still use Facebook, and Facebook is the third most visited website in the world. Now, I would be curious for those of you, if you have your camera on, and don't worry, I'm not going to make you do anything crazy, but I'm just wondering if you have a personal Facebook profile, can you raise your hand? Just give me a little, yeah, yes. Okay. If you also have a business page, keep your hand up. And if you have both, keep your hand up. Okay. So it looks like a lot of you do. Okay. Are any of you on Facebook right now as I'm talking? A few of you? Okay. So I bring this up because when it comes to Facebook, there are kind of two sides of the coin, right? There's your personal profile, there's business pages, there's also things like Facebook groups, Facebook Live, Facebook Reels, like the list goes on and on. And I would say the number one question that I've been asked for more than a decade, and I still get asked this on a weekly basis, is, do I need both? Do I need a personal profile and do I need a business page? And my answer is still yes, because they're similar and different. Now, your personal profile is not meant to be all about business, right? We don't want to spam all of our friends with our listings and open houses. But your personal profile, there's a big opportunity to connect, to stay in touch, to notice what other people are doing, to wish people a happy birthday. The personal piece of Facebook is the relationship building piece of Facebook. It doesn't mean you're going to be friends with every single person that you work with. There's an opportunity to connect and stay in touch with people on your personal profile. Your business page is meant to be about business, listings, open houses, anything other business related things. The challenge with a business page is oftentimes you'll post one or two things to your business page and it's like 1 like, 2 likes, one of them is your mom, right? And it's a little bit like crickets. So I want to talk about how you can get traction on both of those today to stay in touch with people, but also generate new business. A couple things I'm going to recommend is I encourage you to optimize and update your Facebook personal profile and your business page. When you get Googled, oftentimes Facebook's one of the first things that comes up, and sometimes it's your personal profile that comes up first. Now, you, again, don't have to be friends with everyone, and you might have your personal profile locked down with some privacy settings, which is perfectly fine. But I do recommend in your About section on your personal profile, there's a little section that talks about your contact info. Don't be a secret agent. have that part open to the public. What's nice about your personal profile is when you go through your profile, you can actually control what's public and what's just open to friends. So that little area that says about, where you can put your email, where you can put your website, where you can put multiple links if you like, I recommend having that open to the public. I also recommend having your work section open to the public because you want people to easily see, oh yeah, she's a realtor. Oh yeah, he's a realtor, right? Oh yeah, this is the right person I need to contact. So don't be a secret agent. That's important. Of course, your business page, you're going to have obviously your contact information there as well. The second thing is the 80-20 rule. So in your personal profile, as I mentioned, I think the big benefit on your personal profile is connecting and interacting with others. I look at kind of 80-20, meaning 80% of what you talk about in your personal profile is probably going to be personal. It's not, every moment of your life, but it's things that you love, things that you're passionate about, your family, your pets, your travel, a great glass of wine, like whatever it is you're passionate about. That's going to be 80%. 20% can be business. So oftentimes I'll share something from my business page to my personal profile. And that's fine as long as it's not every single post, right? The third thing I want to talk about with Facebook is Facebook Live, Facebook Stories, and Facebook groups. These are all ways to show up on video. And it's not surprising, video is one of the most effective types of content on Facebook. Facebook Live has been around for a long time. Probably some of you used Facebook Live maybe during the pandemic when a lot of people were doing virtual open houses. Facebook Live is still a really effective platform to drive engagement, to drive eyeballs. We're seeing a lot of agents who are using Facebook Live maybe once or twice a month to do things that are timely, right? To talk about what's happening with the market, to talk about local events, to maybe even do interviews with folks in their industry, maybe lenders or their photographer, things like that. What's interesting about a Facebook Live is when you go live on Facebook, a small percentage of the people who are friends with you or who like your content or who follow you get notified you're live. And then the longer you're live, the more people will usually get notified. It's a really interesting thing. Now, going live can be a little terrifying the first few times you do it, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Once you're done going live, that stays as a recording on your page. You can then download it. You could repurpose it to other platforms as well. Stories and groups. So if you've been on Facebook recently on your phone, if you open up Facebook on your phone, the first like 1/3 of your page are stories and groups. So to me, that is telling me that Facebook is saying this is important. This is prime real estate, so to speak. If you're already active on Instagram and you're already posting stories and reels, it's really easy to hit a button and also cross post them to Facebook, which I recommend. Your stories are here today and they disappear in 24 hours. So your stories are a way to kind of take people behind the scenes. What's the story behind the story? You're out and about, you're at a home inspection, you're meeting up with a photographer, you're going to a community event. That's a great opportunity to capture something in the moment, take people behind the scenes. Your reels are more permanent. Reels are up to 60 seconds. They are, kind of short form video content. This might be more about your open houses, your listings. They might be educational content. And then of course, groups, right? Facebook groups. A lot of you are part of Facebook groups. You might be part of local Facebook groups. There's a 1,000,001 realtor Facebook groups that are out there. We're also seeing a lot of agents who are creating their own Facebook groups, especially for their clients. If you've been in real estate 20 or 30 years, you probably have a lot of clients, and it's really hard to keep in touch with people over the course of time. We have one gal who's in our academy. She created a VIP private Facebook group for her clients, which I thought was really fascinating. So at the end of a transaction, she'll reach out to her clients. She'll say something like, I really loved working with you. Would love to invite you to my private Facebook group. This way you can meet my other clients. And it's a great way for me to stay in touch with you and stay connected. And she found that it's really great because then now her clients are interacting with each other, right? She's kind of created this community. She can kind of love on them at scale, right? Which is kind of cool. So lots of opportunity, I think, with Facebook groups. The fifth thing that's on the screen here is highlighting other people. So I'm going to give you a lot of content ideas as we go through our time together today. But one thing that I think is just such a great opportunity is to shine the light on somebody else. Shine the light on somebody else. So, I mentioned in the beginning, I have 2 teenage boys. So one of the things I often tell them in life, I say, be a noticer. Be a noticer, like what's happening in the world around you. And I will say the same thing for you on Facebook. Be a noticer. Take a few minutes a day, scroll through your feed. And if there's an opportunity to highlight someone, to share what someone else is doing, that's a really powerful thing. That's a way to build a relationship with that person. That's a way to shine the light on that individual or that business, especially small businesses. And if you've been on Facebook a while and you just feel stuck, if you feel like the same 5 people are always seeing your content, this is one way to really be proactive to, again, shine the light on other people, local businesses, other folks in your industry, and just, again, like I said, be a noticer, be on the lookout for good things. One of my favorite quotes that's on the screen here, this is from Jim Rohn. He said, only by giving are you able to receive more than you already have. Right? I love that. And if you take a second and think about your own experience, like when you like something, that's one thing, right? Or when you get a like, that's one thing. When you get a comment on something, that's something else. But a share is like the ultimate currency, right? It's like the ultimate currency in social media. So look for opportunities to share, to highlight other people. I would also recommend that you celebrate your clients, be a good finder on Facebook. This is a picture of my husband and I 10 years ago when we bought our home. We live in the San Francisco Bay Area, on the other coast, right? And I remember this day though, like just as if it just happened. I mean, this is the day we got our keys. This is the day my boys, who were so little at the time, ran through the house, ran through the backyard, opened all the closets. And I'll never forget handing my phone to our realtor. She took our picture. I put it on Facebook. And this picture to date has gotten more likes and more comments than just about anything I've ever shared on Facebook. And I share that with you because I think oftentimes I'll see agents who'll post things like, closed another one this week, 2 more in escrow, which is great. But what if we flip the script a little bit? What if we said something like, I had an opportunity to work with like these 3 amazing families this week, and I can't wait to see what's next for them. Right? You see how that feels a little different? So again, and by the way, not all of your clients are on Facebook. Some of them are private. And of course, those folks we can celebrate in other ways. One thing that's working really well right now on Facebook, on your personal profile, but also on business pages, is to ask simple questions. And if you do anything from what I'm talking about today with Facebook, I would encourage you to do this today. There's something very simple about answering a simple question. And I'm not talking about asking a question like, are you looking to buy or sell real estate? That's a really big question that most people are not going to answer publicly, right? When you can start to think about really simple questions that people just can't help but answer, it's really easy for them to answer. Things like, how long have you lived in your home? What's your favorite room in your house? What do you love about the town you live in? Like when you can ask just something very simple with no pictures, no links, it's really powerful what can happen. And Sam James, who's been a part of our academy a while, she posted something. I thought it was really powerful to share with you guys. She said, I just listened to Katie Lance talk about posting text, especially on Facebook. I posted today, how long have you lived in your home? No picture or anything, just that sentence. The response has been amazing. I haven't had this much engagement before. So I went over to her page to see what was happening. So she posted that question, and she had 68 comments on that, right? I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time I had 68 comments on anything, unless it was like a picture of my kids or my cats or something, right? So the benefit of especially posting this to your business page is when you post something to your business page that generates a lot of comments, a lot of engagement, that's a trigger to Facebook that your page is worth showing to other people, right? And what ends up happening is you will see kind of a trickle down effect from this post to other posts. So when you post your listings or you post your open houses or you're just listed, just sold, which typically may not get a whole lot of likes, comments, or engagement, when you can sprinkle in content that does get a lot of engagement, like questions, it's just going to help your page overall. So I would definitely encourage you to do this. Do this sometime today. Just a simple question. And then let me know how it goes, because I always love to hear the results. Okay, another thing I'll share with you about Facebook that I would guarantee some of you do not know, and that is you can manage your feeds, which is really powerful because when you go on Facebook, as we all know, we kind of only see what Facebook wants us to see, right? It's based on the algorithm. So I've got a little bit of a hack. What you're looking at is a screenshot of my phone. Now, I have an iPhone, so if you have an Android, your phone might look slightly different. Also, if you have an iPhone and your Facebook feed does not look like this, you might have to update your app. So you can go to iTunes or wherever you buy your apps and just make sure the app is updated. Some phones automatically update, some don't. So the screenshot you're seeing on the right-hand side of your screen, at the very bottom, there's like these little icons, right? Home, friends, group. Those change, by the way, depending on you. They change depending on how you look at some of those different things on Facebook. But what stays the same is in the right-hand corner, and I think with Android, it's at the top. I know iPhone's at the bottom. In the bottom right corner is my avatar. And when you click on that, you get to this page that you're seeing where you see memories and dating and games and avatars and all this stuff with Facebook you may not even know exists. Well, one of those buttons is a button that says feeds. And when you click that button, you'll see an option to look at some of your different feeds. You can look at your favorites. Now, some of you don't know this, but you can actually favorite some of your friends. You can favorite up to 30 people on Facebook. You can actually go to their page, and right where there's the little friends button, you can click that, you can add them as a favorite. And when you add someone as a favorite, they're more likely to show up in your feeds naturally. But you can also just go to your favorites feed to see some of those people that you favorited. So for example, if you're friends with, maybe 5 or 10 of your A++ clients that you're really close to, that you love, they referred a lot of business to you over the years, I would probably add them as a favorite. That way, a few times a week, you can go to your favorites feed, you can see what they're posting. You don't want to like everything, we don't want to be creepy, but you can take a few minutes to like and comment and interact and just be a little bit more intentional about who you're seeing, right? It doesn't just have to be clients, but it could be prospects, it could be other folks in the community that you really just want to, make sure that you are seeing their content, you're not missing it. You can also just look at your friends only feed. If you just want to look at a feed of just your friends, you can do that. You can look at a feed of just your groups that you're a part of, or even a feed of the pages that you've liked. So I would be curious in the chat. Let me know in the chat, yes or no, if you guys knew about this option with feeds. I would just be curious if whether you know yes or no. But let me know in the chat, yes or no, if you knew about this. Is this something that you've heard of? Have you ever done it before? I feel like not a lot of people know about this. I've been teaching this the past few weeks, and generally speaking, a lot of people are like, no, I had no idea this even existed. So I'm just curious. Okay, I saw a couple no's. Yvette, Tara, no. Judy says yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, if you knew about it, awesome. Good reminder, right? And if you didn't know about it, either way, what I would encourage you to do is set aside some time to scroll through your feed. A big part of social media is, in my opinion, and in terms of being efficient, is setting aside some time to do some of these things, right? I typically will set aside 10 or 15 minutes a day to scroll through my feed, to check for notifications, respond to comments. Again, don't be a drive-by liker, but take a few minutes to like and comment and interact. And when you're leaving comments, I'll give you a little quick tip. I would encourage you to leave comments that are meaningful. And a meaningful comment in the world of social media is a comment that's at least 4 words. 4 words. So instead of saying congrats or great pick, you might say, oh, congrats, Julie. I'm so happy for you and your family. Or happy birthday, Bob. Do you have anything fun planned for today? You see how that feels different, right? I use their name, I ask a question. So again, it goes back to being intentional, right? Really, really important. Okay, so we talked a lot about Facebook. Let's give you some tips for LinkedIn, and then we're going to go to Instagram, and then I'm going to give you some tips on how to put together a schedule. So when it comes to LinkedIn, for a lot of agents, LinkedIn is kind of like the set it and forget it platform, where maybe you set it up at some point, you haven't done a whole lot with it. Or a lot of people think of LinkedIn as just for job hunting. Again, when you get Googled, Facebook's usually one of the first things that comes up. LinkedIn is usually one of the first things that comes up as well. So if your profile's out of date or there's not a lot of information about you, it may have the perception that you're not in business. We don't want that, right? So we've got 5 things I want to just chat about really quick with LinkedIn. By the way, this is all free. I know there's a paid version to LinkedIn, but everything I'm talking about is free. Number 1, again, don't be a secret agent. When I go to your LinkedIn, under your contact info, I should be able to find your email, find your website, be able to find your contact information. Number 2, optimize your profile, which is just a fancy word of basically saying take some time to let us know who you are and what you're all about. This is kind of the place to brag about yourself, right? What area do you work in? What are your designations? Why do you love what you do? Why did you get into real estate? Who do you want to serve? Who are your ideal clients? And this is where, you can really take the time to do that, right? Where you've got obviously your name and your title. There's a little area for your about section or your bio. And again, don't just tell us you're in real estate, but tell us a little bit more about who you are. I kind of like to think about the who, what, where, why, and how. Remember, we all learned that in elementary school. That's a great way to optimize your profile. Also, with your profile, you can add photos. If you've got some photos of past clients you want to add, if you have some videos from YouTube that showcase your marketing, you can add videos and photos as well. Number 3, connect with colleagues and clients. So, there's one of the beautiful parts about LinkedIn is it's kind of like the ultimate networking party. And what I like about LinkedIn is you can see when someone is a second or third tier connection. They're like a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend. And so often with LinkedIn, I will accept friend requests, sometimes from people I don't know, but I can see that we have mutual friends in common. And what's really kind of fascinating about that is there's been a lot of studies done around social media and where people get business from. And ironically, a lot of us do not get business from our closest friends and family, but oftentimes business from social media comes from people on the fringes of our lives, the friend of a friend of a friend, right? And so this is where I think LinkedIn can be really powerful to connect with people in the industry, other clients. I had someone say to me recently, I don't know if I want to connect with other agents, and then they'll see what I'm posting. I'm like, what are you posting? So I don't think there's anything wrong with connecting with other colleagues, other clients. In fact, a lot of business often comes from the connections that you make online with other folks in the real estate industry. The fourth thing I'm often asked is, do I need a personal profile on LinkedIn or a company page? For most of you, you probably just need a personal profile. A company page is meant for a company, right? Like your brokerage probably has a company page. Your franchise probably has a company page. Your association probably has a company page. You as an individual agent, you just need a personal profile, which is beautiful. The last thing I want to mention here, and this is more of an advanced tip for those of you who are really active on LinkedIn. One thing that's working really well right now on LinkedIn is you can create free LinkedIn newsletters. You can also write free articles for LinkedIn. So if you're the kind of person that likes to write, or maybe you're starting to leverage tools like ChatGPT to be more efficient with your writing, you can create content that you publish on LinkedIn. And the nice part about that is if it's really helpful, not just content around your listings, but if it's really helpful, maybe it's information about what it's like to move to Mississippi. What are some pros and cons? What are some tips? What would you tell if someone is a first-time home buyer who's moving to Northwest Mississippi? When you can put out helpful information like that, oftentimes it'll go out to more than just people who are following you on LinkedIn. Articles and newsletters tend to be a little bit of a snowball, and oftentimes they can go out to a much bigger audience to help expand your sphere, which is really cool. Those are all free as well. There's a lot we could talk about with LinkedIn, but those are a few things that I would recommend. Okay, so we've talked about Facebook, we've talked about LinkedIn. Let me give you some tips on Instagram. So Instagram's been around for quite some time. Instagram and Facebook are both owned by Meta. And so there's some similarities, but also differences. And there's obviously a lot we could talk about with Instagram, but I want to narrow it down to just kind of 5 key things. The first thing I would say with Instagram is we want to think about being thumb stopping in the feed. And what I mean by that is Instagram is primarily a app you use on your phone, whereas Facebook, you might go on your computer or your phone, but Facebook is 99% on your phone. And what we do with Instagram is we're scrolling. And so when we think about our content, we want to think about what's going to get you to stop the scroll. And especially when it comes to video content. And I'm going to really in our next class kind of dig more into video content. But when it comes to video content, the mistake I see a lot of people make with reels and videos on Instagram is they kind of start slow. So they'll start off by saying like, hey everyone, I'm so-and-so, and today I'm going to talk about, I have already scrolled past you, right? So one of the ways to be thumb stopping is we want to get right into it. If you're creating reels or any kind of video content for Instagram, just tell us right away what it is you're going to talk about. So it might be, hey, I'm going to share with you the biggest mistake everybody is making when they move to Northwest Mississippi. Hey everyone, I'm Katie Lance. Let me share with you that tip. And you just kind of get right into it right away. So we can be thumb stopping with our content, with showing up on video, but also with just the type of content we're posting. It used to be back in the day, we could just kind of post any old thing to Instagram. We would get a lot of traction, but things that are really generic, like stock photos, things that everyone else is posting, it's just not going to get a whole lot of traction. It is better to post less, but post things that are of quality, right? Leveraging stories, reels, carousel posts are also important. So Instagram stories and reels are very similar to Facebook stories and reels. Instagram stories last 24 hours. They're here today, they disappear tomorrow. But again, they're great to kind of take people behind the scenes, whether it's personally, whether it's professionally. Reels are a great way to show up on camera, to share some tips, share some helpful information, answer those frequently asked questions, showcase your listings. And carousel posts. Carousel posts are posts on Instagram where you have multiple pictures that you can swipe through. One thing that Instagram is just now updating is carousel posts used to only be 10 photos, and now they're updating them to 20, which is pretty amazing. It's been 10 forever. Now, not all of you probably have that update. I just got that update recently, but that's a great opportunity for photos, for multiple videos as well. Number 3, post consistently. Probably not surprising, but consistency is the name of the game, right? Oftentimes I'll go on someone's Instagram and I'll see one post here, nothing for 3 days, 2 posts on a Saturday, nothing for a week. So just like any platform, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, pick a day or two and stick with it, right? The more you can create a habit, the easier it's going to be. Number 4, optimize your bio. Just like I said for Facebook and LinkedIn, don't be a secret agent. If I go to your Instagram, I should right away be able to tell A, you're in real estate, B, what market area you're in, what brokerage you're with. You don't have a whole lot of space on Instagram. It's very limited. You only have about 150 characters. So make sure we know like what market area you're in, what brokerage you're with, a little bit of information about you. You can also add multiple links in your bio, which is really nice. In the past, you could only add one link, but now you can add multiple links, which is great. And so just make sure that is all filled out. I would say probably one of the most important things with your bio is letting us know what market area you're in. So whatever city, whatever market area you're in, make sure you're really clear about that. And number 5 is something called Focus 5. Now, I do this on Instagram, but you could do this on Facebook or any platform. And it's just the idea of taking 5 or 10 minutes a day, scrolling through your feed, liking, commenting, interacting, leaving some meaningful comments, as we talked about, right? Not being a drive-by liker, but taking a few minutes to engage. Whenever I talk to someone and they say, gosh, I'm just not getting traction on Instagram, usually my next question is, well, how often are you spending engaging? How often are you spending commenting and interacting with other people? And the better you can get at commenting, the better your Instagram is going to get. One thing that's also really cool about Instagram is that Instagram is a great opportunity to reach people who do not know you yet. If I was a local realtor, I would use Instagram and I would search out local businesses, all the local businesses that I love, my favorite restaurants, my favorite salons, my favorite boutiques, especially small business owners are generally pretty active on Instagram. And oftentimes it's just the owner of the business who's running that Instagram. So what a great opportunity to love on them, to comment, to interact, to share some of their content and build those relationships as well. Okay, so we talked about Facebook, talked about LinkedIn, talked about Instagram. I want to just give a quick example of the power of conversations. I have a couple screenshots on the screen here from Amy Carroll. Amy's been a part of our academy for quite some time. She's a realtor out in Florida. She's really active on Instagram. Her and her husband are a team, and she primarily does all the Instagram content. So she said, I've been having great conversations on my Instagram stories recently. I find that conversations build relationships and relationships are what lead to opportunities. It's like people remember the point of social media is to be social. I love when this happens because that's when opportunities arise, right? And I'm just highlighting that because I think that's so powerful, right? In fact, I have here on the screen, I said, I love that. You're so spot on. What a great way to phrase it. Conversations build relationships and relationships are what lead to opportunity. So when we think about content, it's not always, I'm going to post this, I'm going to get a listing, right? It's like you're building these relationships over the course of time. And the better you get at it, the more you're going to get notifications, comments, DMs, and that's where the relationships happen. That's where 6 months from now, people reach out because they've had those conversations with you, because they've been, interacting with your content. It doesn't happen overnight. It's really kind of a marathon. And Amy continues here in our little thread. She says, Katie, it's the secret sauce. It always amazes me when an agent follows me and I reach out with a message that one of the first things they say is they're looking for referral partners. Why would we refer business when we don't even know each other? The same goes for agents who want to find customers on social. It doesn't happen with a few feed posts. This step takes time. You have to build the know, like, and trust factor. It's the long game. And I just love that. I think that's such a great reminder, not just with Instagram, but just anywhere on social media. Again, it doesn't mean we have to spend 8 hours a day scrolling through our socials, but there's a lot of power in being intentional and being strategic, right? With our time, not just posting and running, as I often say, but really taking time to engage and interact. And at the end of the day, relationships are built with these small, tiny interactions over the course of time, right? Every like, every comment, every share, it adds up. It's just like in real life. When we run into someone for the first time, and then we see them at the grocery store, and then we see them again, at the Little League game, and then we become Facebook friends. We build these small relationships over the course of time. And it's one of the reasons why I think it's really important for agents to make sure that they're showing up, that they're doing a big portion of this themselves. What's interesting is I hear a lot of agents will say things like, I don't have time, I need to hire someone to do this for me, which I completely understand. But I also think of social media as like the ultimate dinner party. Imagine having a dinner party with your 10 most important clients, but instead of you being there, you have your assistant there running the whole show. We would never do that, but that's what happens when you kind of hand off your voice to somebody else. So it doesn't mean you can't have some help. You might have an assistant who helps with maybe scheduling some of your content. You might at some point work with a videographer or a video editor to help improve your content. But it's so important you show up, right? So, so important. So we've talked about Facebook, we've talked about Instagram, we've talked about LinkedIn. I want to kind of pull this all together into talking about how we can think about creating a smart social media and content plan. And I've got 5 tips for you on the screen here today. I've alluded to this a few times, and that's the idea of time blocking. I don't know about you, but I feel like if something is not on my calendar, it's just not going to happen, right? We can have the best of intentions. So the same goes for social media. And the way I look at this is I like to time block daily, weekly, and monthly. On a daily basis, I recommend time blocking about 10 or 15 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. You can add the weekend too, if you'd like, but at least 5 days a week, 10 or 15 minutes a day. This is where, and I do this every morning, honestly. I do this as I'm drinking my cup of coffee. I've got my giant cup of coffee here. I do this before I open up email, because once you open up email is like a black hole you're never going to get out of. So I do this first thing in the morning. I scroll through my feeds. I'm responding to comments. I'm responding to notifications. If I posted something yesterday that got 10 comments, I'm not just going to like those comments. I'm going to comment back to as many of those as possible. Why? Because social media is a conversation. And there's also kind of a strategy with that. I don't know if you've noticed on Facebook, even Instagram, you could go on Facebook and Instagram and you'll see posts from today, but you'll also see posts from 3 days ago, 5 days ago. You're like, why am I seeing this from a week ago? You're seeing it because there's still a conversation happening in the comments. So you could go back to something you posted 2 or 3 days ago, respond to those comments, and that's going to get your content seen in front of more people. So daily, 10 or 15 minutes a day. On a weekly basis, I recommend setting aside 30 to 60 minutes once a week where you're going to post or you're going to schedule content. And at the end today, I'm going to share a couple of my apps that I love to use for scheduling. I don't think you should schedule everything, but if you can get yourself into a routine of scheduling a couple things every week, and that way you're consistent, maybe it's every Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can always fill in with things that happen in the moment, right? You're out and about, you see a beautiful sunset. Wasn't part of your plan, but you snap a picture, you post it. You're out and about, you see a dear friend, you take a selfie, you post it. And that's the beauty of having some things that are scheduled and planned and some other things that sort of happen in the moment. So weekly, 30 to 60 minutes a week. On a monthly basis, I'd recommend you set aside a couple hours once a month where you're going to batch create a lot of your content. I've been doing this for years. I usually set aside about 2 hours once a month. And part of this started, to be honest with you, because I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do my hair and makeup and create one video, I might as well create like 5, right? So I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this for probably 8 or 9 years. And it's really, I think, one of the only ways I've been able to sustain consistency, because there's always something else that can pop up. There is always something else. So getting it on your calendar. And when I batch create content, I'm not posting it right away, but I've got it kind of in the bank, so to speak. And then I can publish, say 1 per week over the next month. So setting aside some time though, and making that a priority, because it's a lead generating activity, right? The second thing is when it comes to content, especially any kind of video content, I know with real estate, you've got a lot of things that are timely, right? You're talking about the market, you're talking about local events, you're talking about your listing that's open on Sunday. But I would also recommend that you think about creating pillar content. So pillar content is content that might require a little bit more time or energy to create, but it's also content that's somewhat timeless or evergreen. So it's things like who pays for what, how to find a lender, what's the biggest mistake every first-time home buyer makes. It's like these really basic questions that come up time and time and time again. Like, when you get asked something and you think, if I get asked that one more time, that's a great piece of pillar content. It's not going to make you go viral. You're not going to get a million hits off a video about who pays for what, but it's a piece of content you could post today. And the beautiful thing is, because it's timeless, You could post it again in 3 months. You could post it again in 6 months. You could post it again in a year. No one's going to remember. Trust me. I can't remember what I had for breakfast 3 days ago, let alone what I saw on Facebook. So focusing on some content that's evergreen, that's educational, that's informative, I think is key. The third thing is get organized. You don't have to pay for a whole lot of systems. I know for a lot of folks we work with, a lot of them just use their phone for creating content. I love organizing a lot of my content into albums on my phone so I can easily find stuff quickly and easily. A lot of folks we work with, many of them use tools like Google Drive or Dropbox just to kind of get organized, but finding a simple system that's going to work for you. Number 4, get consistent. I know I've said this like 16 times, but it's just like anything. I know for myself, I'm on a little bit of a health journey. And what I learned out of the gate is it's just like anything else. You've got to be consistent, right? So getting it on your calendar, being consistent with it, that's the name of the game. And number 5, focusing on building relationships. So there's the content part of it. It's taking time to post relevant content, but also, again, focusing on that relationship building piece of it, I think is huge. One of the things I would say when it comes to content is I would encourage you to create content, not just to promote you, but content that your ideal client wants to see. And this becomes a little tricky because part of your content right now is probably you have a new listing, you have an open house, right? There's a lot of promotional content that you want to get posted, which is fine. That's part of your business, of course. But the other part of this is content in the voice of your client or in the voice of a consumer. And oftentimes that's a little tricky because we're like so in the business, we're used to all the acronyms. We're used to saying things like SOI and MLS and CRS and CRM, like all these acronyms that if someone's not in the world of real estate, they're like, what are you talking about? Right? So one thing to think about, I actually had someone do this recently. One of the folks we work with inside of our academy, one of the things she did, which I thought was really brilliant, she took out a piece of paper and she wrote down the names of all of her clients she'd worked with in the last like 6 to 12 months. So she wrote them down on a piece of paper. And then next to their name, she wrote down some of the pain points that came up as she worked with them. And she also wrote down like kind of how they said things, right? What were some of their questions? What were some of the things that they came up? Some of them were veterans and they, didn't understand the process. Some of them hadn't bought or sold in 10 years. Some of them had to sell first before buying and they were confused about that. She had people who didn't understand why they should pay for staging or just all the different things that come up. And through that process, what she realized is now she has this list of ideas. So when she sits down once a month to batch create a bunch of quick videos, she can just pull her list out and, grab 4 or 5 things that she doesn't need to research. She could talk to, right, fairly confidently because she's had these conversations with people. And it's a great way to talk to, again, your audience, people who you want to attract, right? Which I think is key. One thing I'd recommend is use some sort of content grid system. And I have a free download. I've got it on the screen here. I'll see if I can drop the link in the chat so you guys have this. Some of you may have downloaded this last time. I think I shared this last time, but if not, let me drop this in here really quick. This is something we created for free years ago, and we update it every year. See if I can drop the link in there. There you go. KatieLance.com/content grid. We created this many years ago because we found that a lot of agents just struggle with either topics or what to post, what's relevant. So the content grid, once you go to that link, it'll ask for your name and email, and then we'll send this to you. It's like a multi-page PDF. I think it's like 5, 6, 7 pages. What you're going to get is a spreadsheet that's all filled out that you could literally just print up and use right away. If you're just just tell me what to do, here it is. There's also going to be a blank template in there. And then there's a bunch of ideas and ways on how you can use it. The beautiful part about this is that it's generic enough where just about any agent could use it. You can print it out, and when you're sitting down once a week to post content or create content or schedule content, you've got 20 or 30 ideas right there, right in front of you. I would recommend once you download this, print it out, look at it. It is a PDF. And if there's anything that doesn't resonate with you, you can just cross it off and then just replace it with something that does work for you and, and how you market yourself. There's ideas like local real estate, national real estate, local community, personal interest, home and design, things like that. And you can use it for Facebook, but you can use it for Instagram, LinkedIn, really any platform. A big thing I want to say here is in terms of the time spent creating content, the business reason for this, why should you spend a couple hours creating content every month? Why should you spend time every day engaging? Why should you be spending time once a week? posting or scheduling content, this is it. The leads you get from great content are so much better. The leads you get from great content are so much better, because when you do this consistently, when you're not just posting, just listed, just sold, when you're not just posting the same thing that every other realtor in town is posting, you'll start to hear things like, I see you everywhere. I feel like I know you. I feel like you're in my head. And those kind of people, when they're ready to work with you, they're ready to work with you. They're not shopping around, calling 12 different realtors. No, they know you, or they feel like they know you. And now it's up to you to decide if you want to work with them. And it's the difference between attracting business versus chasing leads. Attracting business versus chasing leads. And I can just tell you from experience, it's an awesome way of doing business. The other thing that's really fascinating is, as you start to do this right out of the gate, you may not see a whole lot of traction, and that can feel a little frustrating. You're like, I'm just not seeing a lot of the likes. I'm not seeing a lot of the comments. Let me just tell you, a lot of people are lurkers. Have you ever noticed this, right? You could be out and about, you run into someone you haven't seen in forever, and they're like, oh, I saw you went on vacation here. And you're like, you did, right? A lot of people lurk, and they may never comment or interact, but they're watching, they're seeing your content. Another thing I want to share, and I talked a little bit about this in our last class, but I want to make sure I touched on it here in case you missed it. ChatGPT can be a great resource for social media content ideas. And I have a little screenshot of one of my YouTube videos. If you go to YouTube and you search my name, Katie Lance, I have a ton of training on social media. Also ChatGPT, if that's of interest. I actually have a whole playlist all on ChatGPT. So if that's of interest and you're thinking about how you can leverage AI to help with some of this, I have some content here on the screen, but I've got a lot more training over on my YouTube channel. So that's just at Katie Lance. And we have, other training besides just ChatGPT, but lots of good resources for you. So a few different ideas on how you can leverage ChatGPT for social media ideas. Number one, video ideas and scripts. If you've got your list of ideas, you could take those list of ideas, put those into ChatGPT to come up with some scripts or additional ideas. Number two, if you're thinking of doing interviews, maybe at some point you do want to interview your local lender, your favorite stager, your favorite business owner through Facebook Live or Instagram Live, and you need help coming up with questions, you could use ChatGPT for that. You could use ChatGPT to come up with ideas for reels or stories, or helping you to create a social media content plan. Even AI images. There's something called DALL-E 3. If you have a paid account through ChatGPT, that will create AI generated images for you. Just like anything with AI, we never just want to copy and paste. We want to do our due diligence, make sure you're reading it, double checking for any fair housing violations or biases. Always add in your own 2 cents, your own opinion, your own personality. I love that ChatGPT can get you part of the way there, right? And can give you kind of a leg up, and then you can fill in the dots from there. As a bonus, you can also use ChatGPT to rewrite your content into other languages. So if you're someone who speaks other languages, it's pretty fantastic. Only do this if you actually speak the language, though, okay? So just because you can translate something into Spanish doesn't mean you actually speak Spanish, right? Just keep that in mind. So only if you actually speak the language. All right, let me look at my time here. Okay, we've got about 11 minutes left. If you have any questions so far, feel free to put them in the chat. I've got a bunch more stuff to cover here in the next 10 minutes, but I'm excited. Okay, so far we've talked about ChatGPT, we've talked about Facebook, we've talked about Instagram, we've talked about LinkedIn, we've talked about showing up, having a plan. I do want to touch a little bit on video, because I've said this a few different times, and the reality when it comes to video is most people retain 95% of a message in a video compared to only 10% of what they read in text. But if I can also be honest with you, a lot of people, when it comes to video, don't like how they look, they don't like how they sound, they don't know how to do it, so then they don't do it. And I'll never forget, I had a dear friend of mine many years ago who very lovingly told me, she was like, Katie, that's how you look. And that's how you sound. So you got to get over it. So I will lovingly tell you the same thing, because especially in 2024, I want to see you. I want to hear you. I want to know what you stand for. I want to know what you're all about. Right. And when it comes to getting on camera and putting out video content, I mentioned earlier that this idea of being thumb stopping. And one of the ways to be thumb stopping and improve your videos is really 2 things. Number one, have a hook, meaning just tell us right out of the gate what it is you're going to talk about. Like, do you need to do this? Have you ever felt this? The best thing you could do to get your home ready for the market. Like, when you're doing a video, ideally, the first thing you should say is something about what it is you're going to say, right? That's kind of considered the hook to sort of reel people in. At the end, we want to have some simple call to action. So instead of saying, okay, thanks, or okay, if you're looking to buy or sell, contact me, that's a really big ask. So instead, asking something simple like, hey, what do you think? Like, comment below. Do you agree? Like and comment below. Was this helpful? Save this for later. Did you enjoy this? Make sure to share this out. So just asking something really simple that someone can do as they're seeing your content, because the more people are interacting with your content, again, just like I talked about with Facebook and asking questions, the more people are interacting with that content, the more they're going to interact with your other content and see your other content as well. And ultimately, getting on camera answers the question of what does it feel like to work with you? You know, a lot of times I'll have agents or brokers reach out and they'll say, hey, can you take a peek at my Facebook page or Instagram? Like, what do you think? And I'll be honest with you, the biggest thing that's usually missing is them. I have no idea what they sound like or what they stand for or what they're all about, right? And so if I were to go to your page, would I get a sense of who you are and what you're all about? It's just something to consider, right? Especially like Instagram and Facebook. Look at the last like 6 to 9 things that you've posted. Are those representative of who you are and what you're all about? Right. Getting on camera, I think, is certainly a huge thing. And also, I will say, the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like anything else. If you were to go back to my first few videos, you could probably find them. I know you could find them. They're out there, right? It's just like a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it gets. One other thing I'll say about content is repurpose your content. So if you're a little bit more advanced and you're on multiple platforms, I'm going to challenge you to repurpose your content, right? You could take reels and you could repurpose them to TikTok, to YouTube Shorts. You could take video content, download it, get it transcribed, get it turned into emails or blog posts. If you have a video editor or you do some video editing, you can take long form video and edit it into short form video. When I think about content, it should never just be one and done, right? I think there's always an opportunity to repurpose or to repackage. I don't necessarily mean spray and pray. I don't mean like post one thing and like blast it everywhere, but look at opportunities to repurpose. And I would also say, as much as I love social media, I'm in the business of social media is rented ground. We don't own it. And if you're writing anything down, I'd probably write that down. Social media is rented ground. We don't own it. So as much as we are talking about the different platforms and how to leverage them, I would recommend taking a step back and thinking about, is there an opportunity to build your content plan that goes with you wherever you go, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whatever it might be. Also, I think there's a big opportunity to build your email database, right? Because your email database can be a great place to email some of your content, your helpful videos, things like that as well. All of this, by the way, is going to help you stand out in a sea of sameness. And if you've been in real estate a long time, you've probably noticed that there's kind of a sea of sameness in real estate marketing. I have seen this for a long time, right? Anytime there's a holiday, every time we have to change the clocks, tax time, you kind of see the same thing, right? It's like the generic stock photo with like the logo in the corner. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's professional, but it's kind of the same thing everywhere, right? And as I mentioned in the very beginning, there is so much opportunity. You might think to yourself, well, there's someone else in my area who does this or who does that. Yeah, but they're not you, right? They're not you. And I think that's something that's just so powerful to think about, that the opportunity is wide open. As I get to the end, I've got a couple book recommendations I want to share. I would imagine a lot of you probably read this. This is an oldie but goodie, Who Moved My Cheese. I read this book like 30 years ago, and it is a great reread. It's a short 90-page book. It's about a little mouse whose cheese got moved. And we've all had our cheese moved, right? A lot of stuff has happened in the real estate industry this year, market, technology, AI, right? A lot of stuff is changing. But I think the thing to remember, and I have this on the screen here, is like, it's not about getting thousands of followers. It's about getting the right followers. And I don't think as an agent, you need to have millions of followers on Instagram, or I don't think you need to become the next like real estate influencer. I think you need to get yourself into a plan, get yourself into a system, use social media as it's meant to be social, to connect, to stay in touch with people, to build value. And when you can really look at it from a place of providing really great value for people who are watching you, who are connecting with you, who have questions, that's a really powerful thing, right? And also just keep in mind that, yeah, things do change, right? Things do change. What's the quote? The only constant is change, right? That we have. So it's a good reminder. The other book I want to recommend is this is a book I read this year. I read this in January, actually, and I absolutely loved it. I actually listened to the audiobook. I've become quite a audiobook fan recently, but it's called Smart Gravity. It's a pretty short book. You can probably read it pretty quickly. And the whole idea is less is more. And I read this because I'm always really focused on, content and how we say things. And if you have ever felt like you could be a little bit of a stronger communicator in the written word, whether it's through your emails, through what people see on social media, through any of your content, I think you'll find this really interesting. I often find that we overcomplicate things, when it comes to how we explain things or our verbiage. And this was just a really impactful book for me in a lot of ways. And this is a big theme for me this year is less is more. So wanted to share that with you guys. Okay, last couple things, and then we are going to wrap it up and answer any questions you guys have. I promised that I would have some recommended apps and tools, so you can see those on the screen. Canva, love Canva, used Canva for years. This is great for graphics, for reels, for videos. There's some really cool AI tools that are being baked into Canva now. You can even use Canva's scheduling tool if you are a pro user with Canva. Linktree I have used for years. That's also free. I use Linktree inside of my Instagram. Linktree is a free tool where you can create a little link and you can add multiple links to your Linktree. So if you go to my Instagram and you click on my Linktree, it'll have like links to work with me, links to my Facebook page, links to my YouTube, links to, just different resources. A lot of agents will use Linktree because they can have multiple links to their listings, their open houses, their community information, things like that. Meta Business Suite, that's my go-to for scheduling content for Facebook or Instagram. It's free, which I love. You can use Meta Business Suite on your computer, on your phone. You can also schedule content that is similar but different. Like if you want to adjust kind of how it looks on Facebook compared to Instagram, there's also some really great analytics that you can see within Meta Business Suite. You can see what type of content is performing well or not performing well. A lot of great resources. Repurpose.io, this is a little bit more of an advanced tool. If you're someone who's creating a lot of reels already, you might consider looking at repurpose.io. I use this to repurpose a lot of my reels and video content. And basically the way it works is you can set up workflows where you can say, okay, every time I upload a TikTok or every time I upload a reel, I also want it to get uploaded to various platforms. It's a really great way to repurpose your content. It is a paid tool. I believe they have a free 7 or 14-day trial, but it is also a paid tool. By the way, I'm not affiliated with any of these tools. I just like them. I use them. I think they're great. Of course, ChatGPT, as we talked about earlier, great for coming up with different content ideas, great for, coming up with different outlines, scripts, things like that. And that's, of course, free. One thing I always love to say, too, when it comes to social media is take the online offline. As much as I enjoy social media, as I said, social media is rented ground. We don't own it. And one thing you could do right now is honestly look for opportunities to take the online offline. I don't know about you, but I love going out to my mailbox and seeing something other than a bill, like seeing a card in the mail. There's nothing like that. And so I think that there's a big opportunity for realtors in this regard. For example, you could go on Facebook and see it's someone's birthday, and you could be one of the 50 people that writes on their page, happy birthday, HBD, or you could be like the one person that calls them, right? Or reaches out, and maybe sends a little personal video or a text or something or a card. So I think that there's a big opportunity to take the online offline, especially in this world. There's a lot of noise, and it's just a great way to stand out. All right, the last thing I want to share, I promised you my slides. I know I shared a lot of stuff here today. So take out your phone, scan this, and this is going to take you to katielance.com/NWMAR. And this is actually going to give you access to my slides from my first class, if you missed that, and then also this class as well. So when you get to that page, just put your name and email in, and then we'll send these to you right away. I'm also going to send you some other helpful links because there's a lot that we could cover and I only had an hour. So that'll get sent to you. And then I have my email on the screen too. If for some reason that link doesn't work or you have a question that you don't want to ask in front of everyone, you can always email me, katie@katielance.com. Happy to answer any questions you have. I answer all my own emails. So, there's no AI bots or anything. It's me if you email me. Same thing if you message me on social media. So let me see if I can drop that link in the chat here. And then if you guys have any questions, you can type in the chat, or if you want to unmute, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Let's see if I can put this link in there. There we go. KDNKDLinks.com. How did you guys like this today? Did you enjoy it? Was it fun? Did you get an aha? Did you get some good stuff from today? Couple things. Awesome. Look at our time here. Look at this. We are just 1 minute over. Not bad. Not bad. NWM says, please join Katie for the third and final part of this series, Thursday, April 11th. Okay, awesome. Yes, that's our last one. On April 11th, we're talking all about content creation. And that one, we're going to really kind of go deep in how to create content. Now that we've talked about AI, now that we've talked about some of the different social media platforms, we're really kind of go deep into the content creation piece of it. Awesome. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate the kind words. All right. Well, with that being said, I don't know if anyone else needed to hop on and say anything, but I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Would love to connect with you on social. And if you follow me over on social, make sure you message me. Say, hey, I was in your class today. I would love to connect. Make sure I follow you back and all that good stuff. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next month. All right. Bye, everybody.